Welcome to Get Organized at Work. I'm your host, Kayla Fahey-Ahrndt, healthcare leader, mom of three, and your go-to guide for ditching the chaos and taking control of your workday. This is the show where we turn overwhelming to-do lists into clear, actionable plans so you can crush your goals and show up as your best self at work and in your life. Whether you're here for strategies to stay ahead or systems to simplify your workday, you're in the right place. Let's get organized, have some fun, and make this year your best year in your career yet. Let's dive in. Hello. Welcome back to Get Organized at Work podcast. I'm Kayla, I'm your host, and today we are continuing our Fix This System series with a topic that honestly might be one of the most important conversations we've had on the podcast: how to fix your energy. Not just your time, just your calendar, not your task list, your actual mental, emotional, and physical energy. Because I think so many professionals, especially leaders, high achievers, working moms, and people who deeply care about their work, they're walking around feeling absolutely drained. I can speak from experience. And assuming the answer is, I need to work harder, I need to get more disciplined, I need to manage my time better. That's the thoughts we have, right? When really, a lot of the time, it's not a time problem. It's an energy management problem. And I've been thinking a lot about this lately because I had a moment recently when I was feeling incredibly overstimulated. My husband said something that honestly explained it perfectly. He compared it to running a marathon. And if you've ever run a marathon or half marathon, I've only run a half, not a full. But you can still get this feeling. Sometimes when you're running, you're okay. You're moving, you're functioning, and your adrenaline is carrying you. But the second you stop, you suddenly feel everything, all the aches, the pains. Your legs hurt, you're exhausted. You realize how depleted you actually are. And I remember thinking, oh my gosh, this is exactly what this feels like. Because sometimes in leadership, in motherhood, in work, in life, you're moving so fast and carrying so much, you don't even realize how much energy you're expending until you finally pause and stop for a minute. And I think so many people right now are living in that state, not broken, we're not failing, they're just completely depleted. So today I want to talk about how to proactively protect your energy, how to replenish it, right? We got to get it back, and how to stop wasting or leaking your energy all day long, and how to build systems that support you instead of draining you. Because this is really important. Being organized is not about doing more. It's about using your energy more intentionally. All right, the first part of this episode is about why you feel so drained. Let's start here. Because I think a lot of people think they're tired because they're doing too much. Like, I have too much on my plate, I'm overwhelmed. And yeah, sometimes that's true. But often people are exhausted because of context switching, right? We're constantly having to go between multiple different things, one-on-ones, meetings, making decisions, negotiating. We have decision fatigue. There's a lot of decisions out there. They weigh on us, and there's a lot of information we need to make decisions. We have constant interruptions. We're emotionally monitoring ourselves, right? Like, are we in check? Are we being emotionally intelligent? How are we being perceived on meetings? And we're doing reactive work. We're putting out the fires that our teams bring to us. And we're also usually carrying everything in our minds, mentally carrying everything, the mental labor. And honestly, your brain was not designed to keep track of 500 open loops all day long. Every unfinished task, every unread email, everything you're trying not to forget. It consumes our energy, which is why systems matter so much. Systems reduce our mental load. All right, part 2 of this episode is all about the systems that protect your energy. So let's get practical. I know you all want, like, okay, so what do I do about it? Advice, right? So here are some of the biggest systems that's helped me protect my energy as a leader, business owner, and mom of 3. So system number 1 is one place for everything. This is huge. The more places your work lives, the more energy your brain spends trying to track it all down. That's why I teach one capture system, one dashboard, one home base. Because every time your brain asks, wait, where did I put that? That's wasted energy. System number 2 is stop making so many decisions. This one has changed everything for me because decision fatigue is a real thing. High achievers are especially vulnerable to it because we think we can optimize everything. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is just reduce the amount of decisions you have. For example, repeat all your breakfasts, simplify your routines, have an outfit formula or uniform, have standard workflows, recurring meeting structures, weekly reset systems. That's why systems feel calming, because they reduce cognitive workload. So if you can set up a system that instead of forcing you to make decisions, makes it for you, you are ahead of the game. So we'll dive into this more in a different episode, but a good example would be our Kanban board project management system. You don't have to decide if the project is moving to the next step or not. There are already criteria for that. The obvious answer becomes yes or no. It doesn't fall on you to make a decision with invisible acceptance criteria. System number 3 is the 50% meeting rule. This has become one of my biggest leadership beliefs over the years. If your entire day is in meetings, you have no space left to think. And thinking is part of leadership. We actually get paid to think. So I try very hard to avoid my entire day consumed by meetings, because I know if I don't have enough margin in my day, my energy crashes. It's gone. And I become reactive instead of proactive. Now, recently, I gave a leadership talk where I shared this idea of trying to protect around at least 50% of my day from meetings when possible. And I remember one of the executives looked at me with these huge eyes like, there's absolutely no way. And honestly, that's fair, because the percentage might vary depending on your role, right? So some leaders, especially executives, may naturally have more meetings because they're doing less tactical execution and more directing, aligning, communicating, decision making. That makes sense. But that also doesn't mean that we shouldn't do anything to protect our calendars or our energy. So if you can't get to 50%, can you create at least 1 hour of strategic thinking time, or a meeting-free morning, or a buffer space between calls, fewer unnecessary meetings, clear agendas? Because the goal isn't perfection. The goal is creating enough margin that your brain can actually function well. Because if every second of your day is consumed, your nervous system never really gets a chance to reset. And eventually you stop leading proactively and you start surviving reactively. System number 4 is build recovery into your week. This is something I think is massively underestimated and underrated. Rest is not something you earn after burnout. Recovery needs to be built into your systems. So for me, what can that look like? I'm a big runner, so it can look like going for runs or walks before my meetings for the day, or right after my huddles as my morning break. Maybe having quiet mornings after my children leave the home. We'll see about that. It could be at the end of the night, like turn off your work and watch a comfort show. Maybe it's taking a paid time off before you actually need it. Can you schedule time throughout the year where you're just planned to be off? Going outside, having less stimulation, or doing something creative. For me too, something that really fuels my day is music. So I pick really comforting playlists, whether it's like classical music or maybe my 90s jam music that's going to power me through the day and help me feel refreshed between meetings. So no, these aren't things that make you lazy. These are things that help you sustain. So I'd be curious to know, what kind of recovery systems or activities do you do to help you take a break from work so you feel like you can go back to it? I think for a long time, I viewed rest as something I could only really do after I was pretty productive. Like I had to justify it. But now I see it as maintenance. The same way that you have to charge your phone every once in a while, you have to recharge yourself. Because eventually depleted systems stop functioning well for you. And humans are no different. We're the same. We need to sleep in order for our brain to be refreshed, right? So the more that you can power down, the better for when you're actually expending your energy. All right, part 3, how to get your energy back. So what if you already feel depleted? What do you do? Well, there's a few things that help me. First thing is lower inputs. Sometimes the answer isn't actually doing more, it's reducing the noise. So close all your tabs, start over, turn off your notifications, stop multitasking and start single tasking. Less unnecessary stimulation. Maybe you've had the music on all day, turn it off, close your eyes for a minute, start over. Your nervous system matters. The next thing that I do is a mental reset. This is where journaling or brain dumping or weekly resets can come in. Monthly check-ins become really powerful. What's actually happening, not just the thing I'm saying in my mind. Getting it out on paper instead of in your head really help you clarify your energy. Like, what energy am I expending right now that's unnecessary? And how can I refocus it? Another thing I love to do is go for a run. So again, like I said, moving your body. I know this sounds counterintuitive if you're overwhelmed or tired, but actually movement creates energy. It gets your body going. So even a short walk can just simply shift your mental state. And let your best change daily. This has been one of the biggest mindset shifts of my life. Your best doesn't have to be the same every day. Your best isn't defined as a 10 out of 10 day. Sometimes your best is 5 out of 10, and that's still your best for that day. You do not have to operate at 200% all the time to be valuable. I know people have said this before, and I've heard it before. It's like C's get degrees. Well, sometimes a C day is a great day. You don't have to be acing it every single day. So if you take away one thing from this episode, let it be this. Your energy is a resource that deserves systems, not shame, not guilt, not constant depletion. Systems. Because when you protect your energy, everything else works better. Your leadership, your focus, your relationships, your creativity, and your presence. And honestly, that's what we're really building here. Not a perfect productivity system, but a sustainable life. So if this episode resonated with you, I would like you to take one small action today, not 10 actions, just one. Maybe that's creating a one home base for all your tasks, doing a brain dump, taking a walk, blocking thinking time, or simply just allowing yourself to rest without guilt. And if you'd like help or support building systems that actually support your energy, you can grab my free resources and check out my ultimate OneNote hub in my podcast community in the show notes. All right, friends, thank you for being here. I hope this episode really helped you feel a little bit more grounded, a little more supported, and less alone. I will see you in the next episode. Bye.